Oops.
What's up, everyone, and welcome to another episode of VCC Live. This is episode 29. One of these things is not like the other, and apples don't contain nicotine. Tonight, it's just me and Jay. Nick is moving, and Matt had dad things he was doing, I think, unless this is Nick texting me back saying, yeah. Yeah, he says no, he can't, he's moving, so
Yep.
That's cool. Jay and I tonight will be handling the discussion duties. So I'm going to pop back over real quick. If you're watching live now, please don't forget, smash that like button real quick. And at the top, we're going to just mention something that Matt asked us to mention since he couldn't be here. So let's see. Need to go to full monitor and then click over here. Montana Vaping Advocacy. They are having this Clean Indoor Air Act thing coming up on the 2nd of February at 9 a.m., room 203 at the Helena Courthouse. Please be there. If you are in Montana and you're not a member of the Montana Vaping Advocacy public group on Facebook, please make sure that you go search for Montana Vaping Advocacy and join that group. You'll see Matt's there and other people in Montana are there. And there's also a tax bill that they're going to be opposing. So yeah, very important. If you guys are in Montana, please make sure you join this group and ask them how you can help out. Let's go back over here.
Are there still people in Montana?
Well, there's Matt and Vanessa at the very least.
Yeah. All right. That's worth the fight.
They have like 100 people in the group so far. So good evening, everyone. Thank you guys for joining us tonight. We appreciate it.
Hey, guys. I see Mitch and Adam and Mitch again and Justin and Jazzy Jag and Rob.
Sorry, had to have a quick vape. So tonight we have just a couple of things to talk about. Again, might not go the full hour, but we'll see how much Jay and I have to input or how much you guys have to input and how much we have to work off of whenever we get you on there. But I had a good idea today, or not a good idea. It had a thought. You know, right now I've been seeing some people from the industry that have been posting pictures and posts and stuff from Las Vegas this week. And if you didn't know, this week in Las Vegas, there was a 3-day B2B only event called Tobacco Plus Expo, TPE. And I looked online just to find out more about the event itself, to see what it was about. And apparently it's tobacco and alternative products like vapor products and I guess some marijuana products. It's pretty much everything that you would, I guess, smoke or inhale. Have you heard about it before, Jay?
Yeah, I've heard about, if not that one specifically, I've heard about some similar conventions because I do sell products at a couple of tobacco shops. So, you know, just in my dealings with them, I've heard about them going to conventions. So,
Gotcha. So anyway, I'll go over really quickly here to the post that I posted, and we'll see what you guys have to say about that. Let's see, full monitor. Here we go. I said almost approximately. That's kind of, I probably should edit that. But anyway, approximately 29% of exhibitors at the Tobacco Plus Expo in Vegas are vaping industry companies. And my question that I wanted people to answer, but very few people actually answered heads on. Most people had their thoughts on it. But the question I wanted people to answer was, is it contradictory for our industry to proclaim that we are not tobacco products and still attend these types of events where a vast majority of the products are tobacco products? First off, since I don't think you read all these, Jay, what do you think about that? What is your personal thought about that?
Well, I do have a few thoughts. First of all, I don't like lumping in the entire industry as one entity. You know, certainly if there's a particular manufacturer or a particular distributor that was all gung-ho about us not being a tobacco product, yelling and screaming, and then they were to go to the convention, I would see that as somewhat hypocritical. But I don't know anything about the particular vendors that went to this event.
With some e-liquid, some hardware.
but I don't know who they are. I don't know what their past is. I don't know what their advocacy situation is. I have no idea. So to just lump the entire industry into one and say we've been fighting to not be labeled as tobacco, and then these people are going in and trying to sell their wares at a tobacco convention. I'm just not comfortable lumping the entire industry as one entity. I'd rather deal with each individual
Yeah, but
shop.
we as an
Or
industry are not tobacco products, and we were
I
offended and
agree.
shocked, and we're pissed that the FDA decided to deem us tobacco products and regulate us as tobacco products.
I agree. I agree. But not all manufacturers are part of that wing of the industry. They don't care about that stuff. They're gonna go where they can sell their wares. That's it.
Well, I'll tell you
And,
what.
and on one front, that's probably one of the best places to try to sell vaping products. Just on its face, it's a really good way to try to get vape shop or to get tobacco shops. I assume that the primary consumer at these conventions is tobacco retailers.
Well, yeah, let me just before people are making comments, because there were some replies to my question that I posed that were like, yeah, well, they can convert smokers. Why not? It's a B2B only event, business to business.
Right.
There are no public. There are no smokers
Right.
attending. Well, I mean, maybe there are, but there might be a few smokers amongst the.
However, the more tobacco shops that end up having vaping gear of some sort in their shop, the more smokers we can convert.
Yeah, and that was
By we, I mean, whatever products are in that shop. So on that side, I think it's the absolute perfect place for vaping companies to try to sell their wares. However, there is the PR nightmare that we've been fighting over the last 7-8 years. And this definitely flies in the face of that, because people who are against vaping are going to say, see, look, they're at tobacco conventions. How can they say they're not tobacco?
Right.
So I see both sides of it, but ultimately, I mean, what's the goal? The goal is to convert smokers.
Yeah.
And I think that being at that convention is the best place ultimately to convert smokers.
I wasn't necessarily posing the question saying it was wrong of anyone to be there. Don't get me wrong. I just
Oh, I know.
I
I
wanted to
know.
spark a dialogue and get people talking about it and find out. And we can go back and look at some of the answers, because there were quite good answers. Most of them along the lines of what you just said. Of course, yeah, we want to be in tobacco shops. We want to have vape there. We want to make sure that smokers, they're our targeted audience. They're the ones that we should be, targeting. We need to get more smokers over to vaping.
Now,
And stuff like that.
there is a caveat to that. I don't want to see any mechs in a tobacco shop.
Yeah.
Frankly, I don't want to see any sub-ohm anything in a tobacco shop. But certainly starter kits and some modestly priced e-liquid and things like that, would be great to have in every single smoke shop in the country.
Yeah. Well, we can take a look at some of the. Let's have a look at some of the responses, and we'll see. By the way, if you guys have any comments, be sure to, leave them, and we'll go back and look at those. But let's see some of the replies that I got. Chris Hughes, he had quite a few comments on here. He said, I think it's a phenomenal opportunity to forge alliances with similar small businesses and the associations that represent them. Matthew says, I think the more people that can find out about vaping, the better. Chris says, I think you meant here hellbent. People get so hellbent on this being an anti-tobacco company thing. They seem at times to want to punish them for some reason for producing drastically less harmful alternatives to their product. Not really a perfect analogy, but it's like Apple getting pissed at Microsoft for making the Zune. And I said, I haven't attended, which I haven't, but just from my observations, this is by looking at the TPE website and their list of exhibitors. And you can actually select and do an advanced search based on what category of company you're looking for. So how I found out 29% was I clicked on like e-liquids, e-cigs, mods, and like vaping accessories, and it came out to be about 29% of the total companies in attendance.
Mm-hmm.
I said I haven't attended, but just from my observations, the tobacco companies there, a majority are combustible tobacco products, not less harmful alternatives. So there weren't like tobacco companies that were having like the Views or the Mark 10 or anything like that. It was small to medium-sized combustible tobacco companies, the ones that I saw that were tobacco companies.
cigar manufacturers, things
Premium
like that.
cigars, and then
Yeah.
some other tobacco companies. I mean, there was actually a category you could select cigarettes, so I'm assuming these companies make tobacco for cigarettes as well.
Hmm.
Some of them. I'm trying to see if there are any other really good ones. I said, so on Chris Hughes, I said, so just to dig further, would it be acceptable for a vape event to invite tobacco companies to exhibit? And I mean, my thinking behind that is, and I'll come back over to us really quickly here. My thinking behind that is, if they really want to, if the argument is going to be, it's good for us to be at the tobacco event so that we can get our wares, as you say, into tobacco shops. Wouldn't it be a good idea to invite tobacco shops to vaping events?
That is a really interesting puzzle. What would they have to offer?
Well, we could get our products in their shop, right?
Well, yeah, if we were to invite tobacco retailers to the events, yes, absolutely. But I was thinking, I thought you meant like having tobacco manufacturers have
No,
space
tobacco manufacturers. No, maybe I should have been more clear in my response. But I'm saying if we could have tobacco retailers,
absolutely,
either display their booths at a VCC event, for instance, or any other vaping only event, or attend like a business to business. I don't think it would go over very well, honestly.
No, and I'm not sure what the legality would be for them to be able to sell their products there.
Well, they're doing it at this event.
Were they? But it was B2B only.
Yeah, I mean, if you're IDing everyone that comes in Florida anyway, you can certainly sell to anyone who's over the age of 18.
I don't know what the rules are. I don't know. But I don't know. I don't think that would go over very well for anybody involved to have retailers have, you know, actual space at a vaping convention. You know, maybe along the tobacco harm reduction lines, if you were to invite, you know, some snus folks in, that might make some sense. But certainly combustible tobacco being sold at a vape convention. Yeah, I don't know. It might seem hypocritical, but I just don't think it makes any sense.
Okay, let's go back over. We'll have a look at a few more of the. Let's see. Brian Foydick says, no, of course not, which means no, it's not contradictory. No, of course not. First, it's tobacco plus. Second, it wouldn't matter if the plus wasn't there. At some of those events are other products that might be sold in retail outlets that sell tobacco and service providers, etc. Vape is not tobacco, but tobacco companies sell vape. Tobacco retailers sell vape and energy drinks and hot dogs sometimes. Not an issue, not a problem. Only problem would possibly be among our own who don't get it and are free to not participate. I guess some could say, aha, if you aren't tobacco, why are you there? And I would thank the person for a great question and answer calmly with the information above. So he's basically talking to me there.
Right.
And I said, just for clarification, I'm not asking, is it okay for vape supplies to be sold in shops that sell tobacco products? Obviously, I encourage that and I think it's okay. I am asking, is it contradictory for our industry to proclaim that we are not tobacco products and still attend these types of events where a vast majority of products are tobacco products? So I was just making sure that was, you know, clear.
Right.
And then Rob Crossley from Cosmic Fog says 100%. I mean, that it's okay, I guess. Mm-hmm. And the reverse example of inviting tobacco companies to exhibit at a vape event isn't valid. We are a tobacco alternative. We exist to be sold to tobacco users and therefore by tobacco businesses. However, tobacco is not a vaping alternative, so why would they display it at a vape show? Again, I wasn't clear with that. I meant inviting tobacco retailers.
I would liken it to say you've got a whiskey convention, right? One of my favorite things. Say you've got a whiskey convention. Certainly there would be bourbon distillers invited to that whiskey convention, right? Because bourbon is a subset of whiskey. However, if it was a bourbon convention, you wouldn't invite Scotch distillers because Scotch is not bourbon, even though both are whiskey.
Yeah, but retailers who sell Scotch also sell bourbon, I'm assuming.
Yeah, retailers do.
Right.
But that's just kind of, I guess, the
Let me just finish
situation
this
I
thing here
like
and
in it.
we'll go over it. It says people's conceptions need to change and they need to start accepting the fact that, like it or not, big tobacco is our strongest ally. Every positive thing that has ever happened to us at a regulatory level was bought, paid for, or at very least supported by tobacco. And I wanted to ask there, but I didn't in my next reply. It just escaped me. But I don't know what regulatory wins we've had that big tobacco has supported. I'm not really sure what he was referring to. So far, everything that's happened to vaping, for the most part, regulatory-wise, has been negative that I've seen anyway. And then it said, I'm just asking to gain different perspectives. I understand that tobacco will ally with vaping when it suits them, and that's fine with me. My point of asking was to start a discussion on whether you can proclaim to be or not be a certain thing, and then commingle the very thing with the very thing you proclaim not to be. And Rob says he understands. It's basically like asking if Tesla should attend motor vehicle shows. And I said, fair point, but Tesla isn't facing industry-killing regulations. And I think Tesla is only sold at Tesla dealerships. They aren't looking for other outlets to sell their vehicles.
And that's really the only issue that we have with that anybody could have is the fact that it is a PR fight that we're in, and us by us I mean the vape industry. By attending a tobacco conference, that could be a PR hiccup, let's call it.
Yeah, I mean that was my biggest thought. And again, I'm not either for or against the vaping companies that are attending. I could care less. It's their business model. It's their business. They're the ones who have to
ultimately. I think it's a good thing. I mean, yeah, PR is important, and it could turn into a bit of a hurdle for us. But ultimately, back to our roots from before vaping became hip, it was all about converting smokers, and there's no better audience than people going into tobacco shops.
I mean, I wouldn't disagree with you if there were public there and there were smokers coming in, and the vape companies that were there could say, hey, smokers, while you're going to check out that premium cigar, why don't you come over for a minute and let you try this vaping device that I think can completely replace that smoking habit for you.
Right, but that's exactly what's supposed to be happening at these conventions is by proxy, just that. If we can get more vape products into tobacco shops, they become more prominent. People will become more interested as they walk into.
I guess it's a circular argument. I don't think there is a right or a wrong answer. It's just
no, there definitely isn't. There isn't.
I don't know. For me, from the PR standpoint of it, and also I think it'd be probably one of the things that anyone in elected office could go and check this out. It's public, it's publicly on their website available, which companies attended. And I'm trying to, by the way, to talk more into my mic tonight without moving it around as much, because people were saying on the replays that my voice fades in and out. So I think it might be from me moving all over the place. But anyway, I think that it creates that, how can you say you're not a tobacco product and yet you're selling to tobacco companies? And I'm not so sure that they would be as amenable and agreeable to our position that, hey, look, we're just trying to get our vaping products in front of more smokers. So
I think that's a perfect soundbite answer, though. We're trying to get our product into the face of more smokers. So there's nothing wrong with that. And what are they going to say to that?
Yeah, and I mean, and technically and legally, so far at this moment, anyway, unless something changes, the FDA has deemed vaping products tobacco products.
Right.
So there's that as well. Yeah. Let me see if there's any comments that we can talk about here in chat. Someone asked me what I'm vaping. I always vape the same. It's a Nautilus by Aspire.
I actually have the Kabuki going tonight, which is not a Nautilus, but it's a Nautilus by Zen.
Yeah, this is the same exact one I've been vaping for about 2.5 years, 2 years. So
my wife keeps breaking her Nautiluses. Nautili, it's the plural for Nautilus.
All right, so in chat, let's see. Vape distortion, that is Bill Tarling. He says, better for professional vape product suppliers to attend rather than, as many tobacco shops have done, the shops just ordering the bargain trade brands that no vape shop would ever carry. That would give government ammo to say, see, they are tobacco. I'm not sure what he was referring to there.
I actually just recently got into a discussion with one of the tobacco shops that is a customer of mine. They were wondering why my e-liquid was so expensive. Like they used to bottle bottle e-liquid themselves. So they were paying, a flat rate price, for bulk e-liquid. And then they had asked me for pricing on per bottle, and I gave them my standard pricing. Here it is. And they came back and they said, well, we can buy so much e-liquid for, $3.50 a bottle and this and that. And that's just the mentality that a lot of tobacco shops have is, I can buy this stuff from China for pennies on the dollar. Why are you charging so much?
Yeah.
They don't understand, that, the list of ingredients that they'll get from a China e-liquid is much different than what they'll get from an American e-liquid, and the care and painstaking effort that goes into developing flavors in the U.S. it doesn't exist in China.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of I definitely see a lot of that with the tobacco shops. They're used to just buying shit a la carte.
And so Noct Noir, which is not his real name, his name's Patrick. But anyway, he says, if vapor products are picked up by the tobacco businesses, then it is a win for us. Smokers get to see the products in those shops. And then Rob says it's not a win. I'm not sure if he probably did clarify. Smokers don't go into vape shops unless they learn about vapor products. H&B is heat not burn, by the way. Someone asked that because Bill had a comment there about heat not burn products.
That could possibly be a whole new wing of kind of bridging the gap between the two industries, I guess.
Right.
I don't know enough about it. Certainly if they're adding chemicals to the tobacco like they do with cigarettes, those could also be ingested along with
their claims
whatever else.
I think the heat not burn is definitely better than combusting tobacco for sure. But do I know much about it? No, I can't sit here and say that I do. So I'm not really sure if it'd be more beneficial or not. But I think Bill's point was if the tobacco retailers had to choose between vape products or heat not burn products that tobacco companies are going to be putting out, we'd rather have the vape products there instead.
They would probably rather have the heat not burn, just because then they get to use their current supply chains to make products. They get to continue using tobacco.
Sorry guys for the pause. I'm just trying to read through the comments and see if there's any points that we should bring up.
Yeah, there's quite a delay, I think, tonight for whatever reason.
It says Noct also says the reason the general public has started believing that vaping is more harmful than smoking is because we have not been doing a good job at reaching the smoker. And the general public, our education can get a new beginning at tobacco and convenience stores.
We used to do a much better job than we have over the last 2 or 3 years. Expanding, through conversion of smokers has just really kind of fallen by the wayside. That's the reason why I see it encouraging that vape distributors and vape manufacturers are showing a presence, in the tobacco side, because that's where you're going to find conversion. That's where you're going to get people converting over.
Right. There's a couple questions about, is VCCT 17 postponed? Yes, we have put it off until the summer. We'll have a date hopefully pretty soon. It will be in the summer. There were just too many events going on in March for us to get an adequate amount of exhibitors in order to do the event in March, which we had planned to do. So I thought it would be in the best interest of the event and the people who were going to be attending to push it forward until the summer, when hopefully there's not going to be another 4 events in the same month. And, the benefit of being in Florida is you can really do it year round. It doesn't really matter. The weather's always great. So,
and maybe I'll be able to go then.
Don't have an exact date yet, but as soon as I do, we'll have it posted up for sure on the VCC pages on Facebook and on the website. So, make sure you keep an eye on that. I'm going to go back over really quickly here. And there were a couple more really good comments we're going to go over real quick. I can't remember what they were, so Rob also clarified. He said, this particular show is not a majority of tobacco products. is 33% vape, 10% convenience store supplies, lighters, bags, smoke shop things, etc. 33% marijuana products, and the rest, the minority, is tobacco, mostly premium
Wow.
cigars.
That's actually very interesting.
Right. So I guess it's more of a plus than it is tobacco. Tobacco Plus Expo. It's more of a plus than it is tobacco, according to Rob. It's mostly vape and marijuana.
Well, if you think about it, the biggest selling tobacco product is cigarettes, and the cigarette brands are pretty well established. Pretty much any tobacco shop carries all the major brands of cigarettes. So what point is there to have a presence at a convention at that point? Why would Marlboro need a booth?
Yeah, they wouldn't. Like I said, the tobacco companies that I saw there were like small to medium.
Yeah,
size,
you're dealing with smaller artisan type manufacturers of cigars and premium tobacco products.
Yeah, and then Patrick, which is Knox, said we need to be where smokers are. And I said I agree. Without converting smokers, there is no point to vaping being around. Absolutely true. But what methodology we use to accomplish that is up for discussion. And I'm not saying I have the answers. I just wanted to provoke some conversation. Aaron Peterson from Space Jam says, "Why would you ignore any opportunity to reach more customers?" Okay, I like that. Obviously,
yeah, you can't really argue with that.
This guy, Carl Lambert, says the mindset sure has changed since 8/8, actually, slowly over the last year or so. But since 8/8 in a really, really big way. Not sure what he meant by that. He didn't clarify. I don't know if he meant that, we're more willing to open up our avenues of distribution to tobacco. I'm not really sure what he meant by that. That's kind of what I took from it.
Yeah, I guess because you can't expand vertically, meaning you can't expand your product line, you have to expand horizontally, which is increasing, your customer base. Mm-hmm. Like that was ever a bad thing.
No, not ever. Greg Conley says the people selling fake urine, I'm sure they're there, meaning I guess for people to take drug tests and not fail them is what I'm assuming. Mm-hmm. Also would dispute being a part of the tobacco industry. Yeah, I'm sure they would. I'm sure they do.
And I'm sure the marijuana industry would say the same thing, but they were there.
Correct.
So
again, the plus encompassed a very big part of that expo.
Right.
Should be called the Plus Expo.
Right. And marijuana is even less a tobacco product than we are.
Yeah. Scott Smith says, I'll keep my answer simple. Yes, it is contradictory to yell and scream that we are not a tobacco product. We know we aren't, but attend a tobacco-based event. Mark says, like Sun Tzu's The Art of War, a baiting long-term chess move. Okay. And William Vernetti says 100% hypocritical. Yes, there are alternatives to nicotine.
I'm not sure what the point is there.
Not sure what that meant either. But anyway, I just want to make sure you got all the comments in the plus, people that were for it, people that were against it. And yeah. So now I'm going to go back after reading all that stuff and try to go through some of these comments, of course. And I was told at my local vape shop that the FDA has changed or added new things. Not sure what you mean by that, Matt.
I think we touched on that last week, didn't we?
They changed some of the timelines and stuff,
right,
of things that are due by manufacturers, but
and things that vape shops are allowed to do.
Well,
there was
again, those were in the comment period, and I don't believe that they've been finalized yet. Not that I've seen anyway. And with all the turmoil going on with the change of administration, I'm not sure we'll see much happening out of the FDA regarding e-cigs over the next couple of months. I mean, I saw that. There's just a lot going on right now. Again, I'm moving. Sorry, I'll try to be still. Where will it be? I'm assuming they're going back to the VCCT. Yes, it's going to be at the Florida State Fairgrounds in Tampa on I-4. Knox says the FDA did not change anything, just clarify that they are putting out a policy of non-enforcement for certain things. That's right.
I hate that word, non-enforcement.
Rob says, Kev, one of my regular shops started charging a $1 sampling fee tagged onto your purchase, but we were only allowed to taste the juice off of your finger. Is this a thing that is popping up now? I know. I think that's probably just the shop's policy.
Yeah.
If they're charging you a sampling fee, you certainly can vape the product and see if you like it or not. The whole
It
point
might
of it
just
was
be
it could give away
easier
free
than
samples.
them. It might just be easier than them having to put out, sample rigs for people to steal. you know, there could be a number of reasons for that above and beyond, FDA regulations.
When is VCC coming to Georgia? VCC is not coming to Georgia. We checked to do some events in Georgia over the last couple of years. And when we checked, it was not possible, but somehow another event was able to get a place in the Atlanta area for an event in March, which is one of the reasons why we pushed VCC to the summer.
And Florida's close enough.
Yeah.
We're
only 6 hours from Atlanta.
You can cross one state line to go to a vape show. I'll be doing that Saturday.
Oh, what were you mentioning, by the way? Go ahead and do that while I'm looking through comments.
Yeah, the New Hampshire Vaping Association is having an event on Saturday in Hudson, New Hampshire. So I'll be attending that. And I think Tony's in the room right now. Tony from Bay State Vapors. We'll both be going together and raising a ruckus and then leaving before it gets shut down.
Tony says we can assemble systems now. Again, I think that was just out for that was a draft guidance. I don't think that it's been put into place yet, unless I've missed something over the last week or so.
Just do it.
Yeah, again, I don't
it.
think that there's going to be anyone. Big Brother's not that close looking over your shoulder in a vape shop. So if someone needs help them. That's not legal advice. That's just practical advice. Selective enforcement will happen, possibly. Again, Bill Tarling says, we do not intend on enforcing. Translation, we will enforce it when we want. If they don't intend on enforcing, quote unquote, then there's no reason they should hesitate to remove the clauses. They won't. Victor says, did you read the article that Marlboro's putting out a pen-like temp control with real tobacco? That's the heat not burn things that we were just referring to a few minutes ago.
Mm-hmm. The IQOS, right? Something like that.
IQOS, something like that. Uses heat not burn technology, correct.
Mm-hmm.
All right, well, I mean, it sounds like we didn't really get anywhere, come to a conclusion with... I just wanted everyone to start, to think about that type of distinction between... we say we're not tobacco, and we're attending tobacco-focused events. So I just thought that it kind of struck me funny. And I wanted to see what people's opinions were on it. So, I mean, ultimately, I would say if I were not involved in the vaping industry and I were looking at it from the outside, I probably would take an issue with that. Especially if I were in a legislative position, if I were elected to office and someone came to me and said, we're not tobacco. And I would say, but you're, especially like you said, Jay, if it were companies that were at the event itself. But it's difficult for us to defend anything in the public eye. Like there are, 90% of the companies, or maybe 80% at this point of the companies that are out there are doing good jobs with their labels. There's no cartoons. They're not copyright infringing. But the ones that get thrown back in our face are the people who are, the small percentage of people who are copyright infringing and who are using cartoons on their labels, who could, it could be argued are marketing to children. So again, perception is 90% of the problem. And I just think that we should do things to avoid an additional negative public perception. And my goal, again, just me as one person, maybe it's not anyone else's goal, but my goal is to eventually one day have federal legislation that distinctifies vaping and vapor products away from tobacco and tobacco products. And I just think that it gets harder and harder to do the longer you go on commingling with a company, with a part of an industry that you're trying to set yourself apart from. So that was my whole point, I guess, to the whole thing.
And that's certainly that's a hurdle. But I guess my perception is that that's a hurdle that is necessary. It creates certain problems on the PR front. But as long as you have all your ducks in a row, if somebody asks the question, you can just belt it out. Like, look, this technology is designed to convert smokers away from smoking. And what's the best way to do that? Go where the smokers are.
Right. Okay. You think if you think it's just a hurdle that we can overcome when the time comes, but I mean, the vaping industry hasn't been historically very good at getting their ducks in a row. So
No, but we also can't continue existing in the echo chamber either, because that hasn't gotten us anywhere.
All right. Well, the second part of what we're going to talk about tonight was apples do not contain nicotine, and that's just a funny way of saying that. There was a news story that I saw today from planetofthevapes.co.uk that Bill Tarling actually shared, and it says, let me just switch over real quick. Full monitor. Yesterday evening, Apple clarified to Planet of the Vapes that it has chosen to reject new apps and any updates and upgrades to existing releases that contain any content related to nicotine, with no further reasoning as to thoughts behind their new policy. And again, I will post this link in the description below once the replay is up. But just to read a little bit to the listeners who might be listening and not watching. Excuse me. The Planet of the Vapes forum has had an app for over 3 years now. It is a third-party product that wraps the forum content into an app and can be installed on Apple and Android phones to make access easier for vapors who use our forum. The app provides push alerts for notifications, and many vapors have found it a great help over the years. We've submitted an update to Apple back in November, and we were surprised to have waited so long for the update to be approved. We were even more surprised when we received the following message from the app review team last night. We found that your app facilitates the sale or promotes the use of tobacco or nicotine-related paraphernalia, including but not limited to cigarettes, pipes, hookahs, and/or e-cigarettes, which is not permitted on the App Store. Next step, please review your app concept and determine whether you can incorporate content and features that are in compliance with the App Store guidelines. And then they ask, what are the guidelines? And they tell them the section 1.43, apps should not encourage illegal use or excessive consumption of drugs or alcohol, or encourage minors to consume drugs, alcohol, or tobacco, and facilitating the sale of marijuana isn't allowed. So they messaged them back and said, basically what they said here was, hey, thanks for that, but we don't have tobacco products. Again, this is kind of goes hand in hand with what we just talked about. We don't have tobacco products, but we have products that might contain nicotine. Public Health English said that vaping is 95% safer than smoking. Yada, yada, yada. And then Apple basically just says, yes, it's a change in policy. From time to time, policies change. We're not sure if we're going to update the written part of it. But basically, no vaping or e-cig apps are allowed on the Apple App Store anymore. And again, you can read the full thing when I put it in the description later. But this kind of goes hand in hand with what I was saying. We don't like being lumped in with tobacco products when it's not convenient for us. We can't advertise with Google. We can't advertise on Facebook. Apparently, we can't have apps on the Apple App Store now, and I'm sure at some point in the future, Google will probably follow suit because they like to do that. It becomes a sticky situation when, again, you can't have your cake and eat it too. You either accept that you're a tobacco product and don't do the things that people say tobacco product things can't do, or you argue that we're not a tobacco product and fight that fight.
Correct. That's the choice. I'm kind of wondering if this is somewhat of a backlash from that stupid vaping game that came out. Have you seen that?
What is it?
I forget. I don't even remember what it's called. But like, basically, it's a game about vaping. Like you have to tap to inhale, and then I
have not seen that. No.
Yeah, it's awful. It's awful. Somebody in the chat will know the name of this vaping app thing. It was goofy as all hell.
Wow, that's crazy.
Yeah, I mean, they had the guy with the gauge earrings and the flat brimmed hat and the neck beard and the whole thing. Like,
wow. Just trying to read through here.
Vape Master, Tony says, yeah.
Is that on Apple? I mean, that just sounds...
I don't know. I don't think it matters whether it was on Apple or Android. But
I don't know.
Some jackass wanting to sell ad space, I guess. Mm-hmm. I assume it wasn't a pay app or a pay game, so...
The object was to blow the biggest clouds to kill people sitting in the bar. Are you serious? Wow.
Stanley the Viking wrote a song about that.
Wow. That is just absolutely unbelievable. But anyway, so yeah, no more e-cig apps, and again, this again, like I said, goes hand in hand with what we just talked about being lumped in with tobacco products, and I find the whole thing's kind of disheartening for me because I've spent the last 3 years telling legislators and city councilmen and stuff at meetings that I've attended and lobbyists when I've been to meet with lobbyists, we are not tobacco products. We're not tobacco products. We have to be segregated. You can't classify us as, you can't include us in the Clean Indoor Air Act in the state of Florida. You shouldn't ban vaping because it is not tobacco smoke. And, I understand companies need to make money. But again, when we accept, and Apple is a private company and they can do whatever they want to do. They can allow whatever apps they want to allow. But the more the public perception spreads that we are tobacco products, the worse it gets for us, I think, for us to try to fight that PR battle and in the long run win over more smokers because, a smoker might say, fuck it, I'm just going to keep smoking. I'm not trading one tobacco product for another one when I know I like cigarettes. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong.
Maybe you are, maybe you're not. I don't know.
What do you guys think? Anyone in chat have any thoughts about that? What do you think about what Apple did and what's likely going to be the trend for companies in the future to do, especially when we don't have a problem or, some people don't have a problem with us being considered tobacco products. I think that's one of the most, horrible things that the FDA did was classify as tobacco products. And now the states are probably going to do the same thing in their state legislation that we talked about. They're going to say, oh, FDA said they're tobacco products, let's tax the hell out of them. I don't know. Right. Again, Bill, that's exactly, Bill says the FDA even said tobacco or medical were the only two possible classifications.
Right.
That's why at the federal level, we need legislation that segregates us away from tobacco products.
Agreed.
If
we're tobacco products, then Nicorette gum is also a tobacco product, and I don't, I mean that's just reality.
Yeah,
speaking.
But they went the medical.
They
went the medical road.
Well, that's what I was. If you let me finish my sentence, that's a distinction in reality, not a political distinction.
Matt says, "Oh, by the way, go Falcons, rise up."
Yeah, I saw that. That's fine.
I got to tell you, I'm kind of pulling for the Falcons too. A guy that went to my high school plays safety for the Falcons. Obviously, a lot younger than me, but
I know. I don't know. People keep asking me, well, what do you think? What do you think? What do you think?
I also do think that I saw that Tom Brady has never lost to the Falcons. So
yeah, but this is a different Falcons team. Mm-hmm. Right? It's good that we're seeing the best defense up against the best offense. And traditionally, the best defense wins. But I mean, their offense is pretty freaking spectacular. And, even last week, Julio Jones was taken out of the mix and they still freaking got it done with Sanu. So
we got to get back to the vaping conversation for a second because Nock just said something that kind of sticks in my craw a little bit whenever I hear it. The FDA wanted jurisdiction over vaping. We sued them, and we fought to be classified as tobacco. Read the CASA amicus brief. We, as an industry, did not sue them. A single company sued them, and the rest of the industry, which was in its very, very infant stages at the time, got stuck with the result. I think had a lot of the advocates been around back in the day that are around now, I'm not sure what would have happened, but hopefully it would have turned out differently.
But also in the lawsuit, we, meaning the plaintiff, was not asking to be labeled as tobacco. The judge gave that avenue.
Right, but it wasn't an industry lawsuit like the one that's going on now. I mean, it's been labeled an industry lawsuit. The Right to Be Smoke-Free Coalition and Nicotine/Halo lawsuit that's happening.
Yeah, that's different. Yeah,
that's a quote unquote industry lawsuit. The lawsuit that Noct is referring to is a Cetera case, and that was not. That was a company that was suing over the fact that their shipments were being seized at the border by customs.
Correct.
When they were trying to import them from China.
Right.
So yeah,
But they never claimed in their suit that they were a tobacco product. That was the avenue that the judge gave to the FDA.
Knox says actually 3 companies were on that suit. 3 companies does not make an industry.
Well, yeah, Enjoy, was it Enjoy that actually ended up having to step
and Enjoy
in?
took it up, and finished paying for it because Statera couldn't.
They went bankrupt.
Bill says, Knocked actually all the arguments were, we need to educate them, we aren't tobacco, which is exactly as they wanted Tobacco 101, Tobacco Playbook 101. Nobody stated we do not fit this classification. That's why I'm saying I think things would have been done differently if it had been bigger of an industry and there had been more participants in that lawsuit at the time, the one that they're referring to from back in 2000 that was decided February 2007. Cost a ton to win and cost as much to lose. You're absolutely right. This is why.
Yeah, there are no winners when it comes, except for the lawyers.
Knox says, I was around then, and Kassad did argue in the amicus brief that we were not medical and that we fit better in the tobacco classification. Okay.
I don't remember that. I mean, you're talking.
I
so long ago.
Either, but,
I don't remember that amicus brief, but
yeah. Anyway,
but they weren't the plaintiff, even if they did state that they weren't the plaintiff.
If Kassad submitted an agreement, yeah, but I mean, it would have influenced. Maybe it would have influenced the judge's decision. But I mean, the point is, I don't consider that an industry lawsuit. I mean, it shaped the industry from then on. But it wasn't the industry who sued them, even if it was 3 companies. So, yeah. We were just in, like I said, we were in our infancy at the time, and there was no possible way, I don't think, for the industry, quote unquote, to come together like they did under the Right to Be Smoke-Free Coalition and sue the industry. So we kind of have to live with what happened before anyone, big players in the industry were even around, or, the people that have made their money over the last several years did so in the grace period, I guess you could call it, between when that ruling was issued and when the FDA finally decided to deem them tobacco products.
And the reality was that was the best possible outcome from that lawsuit anyway, because if the judge said, okay, they're medical devices, we would have been done right there. All done.
Yeah. I mean, but anyway. What's the Faircloth update? I don't know. I haven't heard anything lately on the lawsuit or what's happening with it, so I'm not really sure, Lee. I think the best place to check would be on Vapors for Faircloth, probably on the Facebook page. Ryan says, Pharma ultimately wins. It's true if you look at it from the medical industry, from afar, the medical industry needs cancer and patients to thrive. Yeah, absolutely true. And Pharma also has the NRT products out there that are, $1 billion or $2 a year industry that we're competing with directly, because vaping is much more effective at getting smokers off of tobacco than any of the NRT products that are on the market and approved by the FDA. Well, anyway, we're going to wrap up a little bit early, about 10 minutes early tonight. It's just Jay and I, and we only had 2 topics to talk about. So we'll get some thoughts next week from Matt and Nick on this. I really wish they both could have been with us tonight, because I wanted to hear their comments and thoughts on it as well. So maybe we'll spend about 10 minutes next week just recapping it and covering it with them. Unless you guys have any last minute questions or anything, I think we're going to wind it up a little early. Don't forget to smash that like button down there, please. And if you haven't yet, check out Breathe Magazine, BRETH magazine.com. We have opportunities for advertising there for the first issue coming out at the end of April for the May-June issue. All of us on VCC Live are contributors. I'm the editor and owner of it. And then Jay, Matt, and Nick will be contributors, along with several other really cool people that we have from the industry all around the country. So make sure you check that out, breathemagazine.com, or follow us on Instagram at Breathe Magazine, BRETH Magazine. And anything you have, Jay? Anything to close up?
No, anybody in the New England area, I invite you up to the New Hampshire Vaping Association event up in Hudson, New Hampshire. If you need details, you can hit me up on Facebook. and I'd be happy to get those out to you. Actually, I already have a couple of PMs from folks looking for info on it. So
Very cool. What's
yeah,
when are the dates for that?
it's just on Saturday.
This Saturday?
Noon to 8 o'clock. Yep.
Okay, cool. All right, guys. Well, we will see you next week. Yeah, I guess that's it. Have a great weekend. Remember, you don't have to do everything. You do have to do something. Get involved.